As of a couple of days ago, I've been hearing these stories about people suggesting that fasting is bad, intermittent fasting is bad, people who fast are bad, it's bad for your heart, bad for your health. Here are 6 reasons why they are full of it and what you should always keep in mind. Number 1, they want you fat. Everybody wants you fat. The Fat Mafia. We're going to call this group kind of like the organized crime of health. They want you fat. They want you unhealthy. And this is everybody from fast food to processed food companies to the medical community to whatever. A healthy society is a bad society. A healthy society is a powerful society, a society that basically rebels, that thinks for itself, that basically answers the challenge of one of the most important things that people do to conquer your own weight. They don't want you thin. They don't want you happy. They don't want you healthy. This may not make sense to you now, but it will later. Number 2, we want you to get out of the idea that food and health, and this may sound like number 1, but it's not, but that there's something magical about it. Why? There's no money in kale. There's no money in natural foods. There's no money in this. There's money in processed foods, in pizzas. Nothing wrong with pizza, but burgers, fast food, processed things, cookies and potato chips and sausage and meat processing and meat. That's where the money is. So if they can get you away from this idea, they will laugh at you. Oh, there he is. Look at how ill these vegans look. They have this myth that vegans in particular, and by the way, full disclosure, I'm plant-based. I never use the V word. But they always make fun of vegans. They look terrible. They're unhealthy. No, they're not. But they create this meme. They create this idea. Next, and this is important to understand. We talk about the gun lobby, the climate lobby, the Israel lobby, the defense lobby. But there's the meat and egg and processed food lobby. There are these folks who represent very, very powerful groups of people that are under attack like you cannot believe. Look, I'm not going to give you the obligatory I'm not a physician line because I think you know that. But I've been studying this for a long time, and I only can tell you what I do in my own life. And I don't eat meat, and I don't eat eggs, and I don't eat butter, and I don't eat that stuff. And that's me. It's not because of the care and feeding and the horrors of animal sacrifice. I'm not saying that, though that's nice. Mine's a health decision, and that's it. I'm not going to proselytize. I'm not going to tell you. It's a free country. You can eat whatever you want. I don't care. It's your business. It's your life. Have at it. But there are people right now, especially in the meat business. You remember a while back ago, years ago, Oprah Winfrey was charged with something like industry libel or something, or they tried. I think the case kind of went away, but they wanted to before she became Oprah, the untouchable. They went after her and they said, she said something like, well, you're not going to see me eating a burger or something like that. And supposedly cattle futures dropped precipitously. I don't know if that's true or not, but they wanted to scare you the way they're doing it now and in certain political aspects. Deny the election, say something bad about COVID, and we'll sue you, we'll get after you. Well, this was in the nascent period of that. And they went out of their way to scare the hell out of people who would even think about saying anything about the cattle industry, the meat industry, chicken, poultry, whatever. And that was something which always stuck with people. They're a tremendous lobby. And let me just say this. I've got no beef against them, no pun intended. Well, pun intended, I guess. These are honorable people. I don't want there to be an absolute destruction of this. No. That's not it. That's not my goal. But if I were in let's just call it the meat or the industry, as well as the egg industry and dairy, I'd be scared because of all the substitutes. There was a time when there was no such thing as an egg substitute. Oh, there was, they call egg beaters, but that was about it. Now there's, oh my God, you can go to the egg substitute aisle. And little by little, people are learning that there are ways to get around this. So those very, very powerful lobbies want you to understand. And by the way, remember something. Each of these areas kind of blaze or blends into each other. The processed food industry benefits from the meat industry, benefits from the whatever. Okay, fine. Next, The idea of people fasting, they hate fasting. They hate the notion of it. They hate the idea of reminding people that they should be able to handle being hungry. In our culture, in particular, there are people who say, what time is it? Time to eat, time to eat, time. And they'll always say, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Okay, is that true? I don't know. Has there been a study on that? Do you say that? Is it true? If you get up in the morning and you're not hungry, should you be eating? If your breakfast is maybe noon, if that's your cycle, what they don't want you to do is listen to your body and act accordingly. They want you to act pursuant to the rules and regulations that they come up with. And it's always by somebody telling you what to do. Now, there's something else which is important. And this is number 5 technically, but because I've given 5 reasons. There are concepts called hormesis, hormetins, apoptosis, autophagy. I'm not going to go into this now, and I would tell people to look this up and use the powers of Google or whatever, but they won't do it. But the idea is very simply this. What does a dog do when a dog is ill? You ever have a pet dog, a pet dog versus what? Member of the family who's a dog? Anyway, a pet. And if the dog is a pet, if the pet is a dog, when the dog is not feeling well, what does it do? It doesn't eat. Sometimes people will say, he's not eating. That's not necessarily a symptom of illness, though it can be certainly in wasting diseases. No. Sometimes it's your body using these powers of recovery, apoptosis. Hormesis and hormetins is the stress that is applied, which actually results in a benefit to it. Let me throw this one. Remember years ago, resveratrol was a big deal. I think even Oprah. Oprah has talked more about health than you can imagine. And we'll get to her in a moment. Really get to her in a moment. But they talked about resveratrol. Resveratrol was the substance in grapes and wine. And they said having a glass of wine a day is healthy. Little side note here. It was so funny. There was a study that said people who are the healthiest have 1 glass of wine a day. We notice these people, they talk about this myth called the Mediterranean diet, which, believe me, Ansel Keys had nothing to do, never mentioned a word about olive oil. But that's a different story. So anyway, so they talk about these things. They say that these people, we've noticed that these people are the lucky, or they're sedentarians. They have a glass of wine a day. And Americans in particular said, aha, drinking wine is good for you. Now, how did you get that? Well, that's the way they think, all right? Look at our politics. You hear something and you extrapolate. So they said, well, that's not what they said. Oh, no, that's important. That's what it is. They said if you have a glass of wine or more, that's the way we do with vitamins. Well, if half a milligram, well, then 10 is better. That's the way we think. Somebody said later on, no, I think you're missing the point. I think somebody who has a glass of wine is indicating a degree of perhaps maybe something called, and this is important, something called discipline, self-discipline. And maybe that's it. Maybe the idea was that anybody who could only have 1 glass of wine a day is limited in other aspects. By the way, what about people who don't have any wine or any alcohol? They never thought of that. Guess what? They were healthier. So they missed the point of the study. So when it comes to hormesis and apoptosis and hormetins and stressors and autophagy, eating your own fat. If you ever talk to people who are doing keto, this is modified Atkins. This is Stillman diet. This is the Scarsdale diet. This is old. This is old. Low carbs, high carb. They try to make it more complicated than it is. And let me also tell you the latest, and I'm going to throw in a bonus. This is really the 6th reason why they're poo-pooing intermittent fasting and fasting. And by the way, I'm a huge intermittent faster. I could live on the 18-6 program. It's my life. And I do great and love it because we eat too much. But that's a different story. Ozempic, Wegovy. This is Oprah. Oprah. The biggest fraud who has ever lived for reasons, we can do a separate video on that. They want you to think today that weight loss is not in your power, that it's painful, They want you to understand that fasting is not good for you. Being hungry is not good for you. You know when they used to tell kids, go to bed without eating your supper. Go to bed. Punishment. Oh my God, going to bed hungry? Going to bed hungry? I do it all the time. I eat in the morning. See, we have this idea that if you're hungry, you're dying, or that you can't do it. We live in a world today of a bunch of frauds. Ozempic changed everything. It changed everything. And I am not a doctor, but I am a trial lawyer, and I promise you right now, there are products liabilities and teams of plaintiffs' lawyers just waiting for the first batch of people who have taken something over a period of time. And I'm just telling you, remember from the 70s, there was a chiffon margarine commercial where the moral of the story is it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Remember, they don't want you healthy, they don't want you thin, and they love to tell you that your sedentary, sloth-like lifestyle is good for you, that it's not your fault. No, there has been more data, more emphasis, more information on intermittent fasting and fasting like you cannot believe. It's an insult. And if you read very carefully these studies that say it's not advised, you realize that the answers are inconclusive. It's the same thing. Remember when they said a while back, butter, the French paradox, they eat all this butter. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're saying butter is good for you? You're saying butter is good? You're saying there's no such thing as, there's no connection between cholesterol and cardiac incidents? Are you kidding me? Remember, the number one disease, the number one cause of death in our country, has been for probably forever, is coronary incidents. Heart attacks, preventable, not genetic, not things, but basically lifestyle and diet related. It's that simple. And if we change that, because you want to talk about genocide, there's a genocide going on. And don't get me started. What's happening to people in poorer sections of the country, what's happening to African Americans and Latinos, it's unbelievable. Do me a favor. Go into any Chinese, Asian restaurant. Look at the staff. What do you notice about them? Other than the fact that they might be Asian, but what do you notice? Do you ever see any fat folks there? Very rare. I wonder why that is. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Can't wait for your thoughts and comments on this one because people go crazy when they talk about food. So comment as you see fit.